Yes. That soldier was one of the many thousands who made the ultimate sacrifice. What he was describing just now was precisely the disaster that happened in Inazuma 500 years ago. Yes. Inazuma was facing many great crises at that time. Some were local in origin, while others came from the now fallen kingdom of Khaenri'ah. The disaster in Inazuma caused me great concern. I felt that I had to step in before it was too late, otherwise it would spread to all of Teyvat. But my friend, Kitsune Saiguu, reassured me that I had nothing to worry about. She would shoulder the responsibility of protecting Inazuma and mobilize all forces at her disposal to combat the threat. I could tell that, although neither of us acknowledged it, we both knew that the road ahead would likely end in tragedy.
So, Inazuma was attacked at the same time as when the disaster happened in Khaenri'ah?
Indeed. Countless monsters suddenly appeared throughout all of Inazuma. In the end, Kitsune Saiguu sacrificed her life to protect the people. I never had the chance to see her one last time. But I would like to believe that she kept her promise to me until the very last. But even then, Inazuma was left more devastated than we could have ever imagined. Those terrible tragedies left great wounds that are still felt to this day, both on the land itself and in my heart.
Hey?
Yes. For the longest time, I couldn't bring myself to face the pain of that loss. All my martial might was in vain. Though I could conquer Tatarigami and vanquish monsters, I was helpless against the ravages of time, powerless to keep the ones I cherished alive. But after my clash with human ambition, I thought long and hard. Now I realize I cannot fixate on the past forever. When I traveled around Inazuma with you, I caught a glimpse of how the nation has progressed over the centuries. A glimpse of human potential. Everything far exceeded my expectations. Moving forward inevitably invites further loss, but also new encounters. Just think of that soldier. Despite all the losses he had experienced, he still chose to keep fighting for the sake of moving forward. All those who sacrificed themselves back then gave their lives fighting for a future. But perhaps the future they were hoping for is not the eternity that I once strove for. As Inazuma's god, it is high time I honored their wishes. Warriors of the past, who spilled your blood on this land, your noble souls now rest in this earth. I will never forget you, and all that you did for Inazuma.
He's taking all this pretty hard.
Come on. Let's keep investigating the damage to the sacred Sakura.
Then, people flee out of a desire to live on, and the desire to live on stems from a feeling of having unfinished business in life. But me, I have no such thoughts, and I have no regrets. The almighty Shogun often speaks to me about her dreams over tea. Just listening to her stories, I've been blind for many years, but her vivid descriptions took me on a splendid journey to all the most beautiful places in Inazuma. Over time, I've come to understand her mindset. Quite the romantic at heart, a true dreamer. One thing she always says is, good things don't last forever. Everything changes, fades, disappears completely over the passage of time. And so, people must make the most of the life they have, seize the chance to enjoy it while it lasts, and have no regrets in the end.
Drink tea. Any free time I had was spent practicing martial arts. So, in the vast majority of cases, the one he made tea for was the former Electro Archon, who was also my sister, Raiden Makoto. He may well have had an inkling about there being two Raiden Shoguns, but he always acted as if he was completely unaware of it. The philosophy of life that he shared with us just now, that was Makoto's view on reality. She always saw things that way.
You and Makoto had pretty different views, huh?
Indeed we did. It was the biggest difference between us. In her eyes, the most precious things in this world were dreams. The yearning for a better future held by living beings. They are similar, but not identical. When you came charging into the plane of Euthymia, I saw human aspirations light up the sky far above in the form of countless stars. This somewhat shook me. Now, it seems like she was right, while I took the wayward path.
Wow, there sure was a lot going on beneath the surface.
Makoto saw a bigger picture than I did. In her view, a dream is more imaginary, more abstract than an ambition. An ambition is a yearning for something material, or a concrete outcome. It is finite in nature, and will be replaced by a new ambition in due course. Makoto was more concerned with the force that drives humans to constantly generate new ambitions in the first place. It is something innate, rooted in instinct. In other words, it is something eternal.
That's, quite a lot to take in.
To put it simply, Makoto wasn't concerned about outcomes. I didn't understand at the time. How can we say that we are maintaining eternity when things are constantly moving forward and evolving? I suppose what it comes down to is the definition of eternity she set out with. Yes, it does. I always thought that she must have grasped some elusive, arcane wisdom to arrive at the conclusions she did. But in the last analysis, Makoto's philosophy was, on the surface at least, an elegantly simple one. Notwithstanding that it was also the more prudent choice, based on a more mature, far-sighted outlook.
Do you feel you're starting to understand her better now?
You have already witnessed my previous views on eternity. But now, I no longer cling to what was lost. I suppose that means our differences have been reconciled. I should have any major problems doing it myself. The tea is ready. Please give it a try. So many thoughts were racing through my head as I was brewing it. I'm not sure how to explain it. You're right. But the things we've seen today have brought back many memories for me. I've been reminded of many people, too. Kitsune Saiguu, Makoto, and all the other friends who I watched pass even further back. Back at the Yashiro Commission, I kept the conversation reasonably light-hearted. But now, I'd like to broach a heavier topic, if I may. The events of 500 years ago not only robbed me of my friend, Kitsune Saiguu, they also took Makoto away from me, for good.
She died in that disaster too?
Yes. She went to Khaenri'ah alone, without telling me. Unlike me, Makoto was no martial artist. Whenever similar crises had arisen in the past, I was always the one to face them in her stead. But this time, the circumstances were so grave that Makoto had no choice but to leave me behind. Or perhaps it was more that she went ahead of me, put herself in front of me, so that I would remain hidden. In any case, by the time I realized what was happening, yes, it was too late. I arrived only in time to hear her dying breath. She had already lapsed into unconsciousness by that point, so all I could do was enter into her mind. As far as you're concerned, it would be somewhere similar to the plain of Euthymia. It was there that we bid each other a final farewell. I cried bitterly. Even in those final moments, I couldn't understand her actions. Why did she go to Khaenri'ah first, and not I? Why did she keep me in the dark about it? Was it to shield me? It was there and then that I resolved to pursue eternity. As a testament to that decision, I saved her realm of consciousness just before it collapsed completely and brought it back to Inazuma.
That's quite a story.
When I returned to Inazuma, I was shocked to find that a great sakura tree had appeared on Mount Yogo. The tree that you know as the sacred sakura. That's exactly what everyone back then told me as well. That it had existed since time immemorial. They were so matter-of-fact about it, and couldn't at all understand what I was so surprised about. No one questioned it, and yet its presence contrasted so starkly with the area as I remembered it. It seemed as if I was the only one to have noticed it appear suddenly out of thin air. In the end, I simply had to accept that it was a miraculous effect of Makoto's consciousness. With the help of the sacred Sakura's power, I was finally able to overcome the monsters and quell the disaster in Inazuma.
This is all really hard to understand. Kinda beyond Paimon's level.
Yes. She had such a great love for this land and for its people. In this respect, I still do not compare to her. I once told myself that I would never speak of these events again. Facing the fact that she is gone is unbearably painful. But even the tea that is most bitter to the tongue, once swallowed, leaves some sweetness in the throat. And it's time I came to terms with it all.
Oh, while we're on the topic, since you experienced that battle in person...
Sister? I had heard that you were looking for your family. You mean to say that she was somehow involved in the Khaenri'ah disaster?
Based on what we've learned so far, it seems so, yeah.
I'm sorry. I wasn't there for the whole thing. By the time I arrived, the worst of the fighting was already over. And also, my mind was consumed entirely with the plight of Inazuma and the fate of those closest to me. So, I am afraid I can't help you.